Right, the body shell is now on the interior stroke chassis. You can see all the roll bars poking, you know, so you can see it all through the clear parts there, the windows. Now basically what I had to do, on the top part of, the first part of step 12, you've got, on the rear bumper here, you've got a little mounting square with a square C-shape cutout. And them C-shapes line up to the back lip edge of the rear, just under the exhaust. So what you do is you put it in that way, put it in rear first, and then you bring the front down, and there's two more of those square C-shaped clips in the front bumper just behind the headlamps. So turning this over, just here, just in front of my pencil nib, there's the one square tab with the square C shape, and the other one is just underneath the exhaust. So you just put that into place. Then what you have to do for the front bumper one, there's the one there, and the other one's there. So you have to ease this in, and then you have to stretch out the bumper slightly, and then just ease it in, pushing it down millimetre by millimetre, and eventually, when you stretch that out slightly, it will lock into the C-clips. And the good thing is you won't have to glue it on the front or the back. The only problem being, on the front bumper here, just in front of the headlamp, it snapped on me. And because that side went in dead easy, but this side, I couldn't get it over the top bit of the C bracket, and that snapped on me slightly, just from there to there. So what I've had to do is I've had to get the super glue, once I got all that in, and just reattach the bumper to the fender well there. So I'm just waiting for that super glue to cure, and then I'm going to have to sand that down, and then probably decant some of the TS49 and patch it back up again by hand. But apart from that, it was actually quite easy to get it on. A hell of a lot easier than my Fiesta car from about 5 years ago. Right, going back to the underneath chassis, you've got some more work. Skid plates, sump guards, skid guards, whatever you want to call them, engine guards. So D5, which was in clear, I don't know why it was in clear. So I painted that in the aluminium, and then you got these two bits here. I'll mix some number 26 brown with some gold. So there's my gold, there's my number 26 brown. So I'll mix those in my little mixing palette. Painted those on. Got some of my 1mm masking tape, masked that off, and then painted the aluminium. Took about 3 coats for everything, because like I said, it was unclear. Then mounting the guard onto the bottom of the chassis, you got 2 pins on the underneath of D5 into those 2 holes there at the back of the engine, and then you got 2 mounting holes there on that suspension piece there. So there's 2 holes and pins there, and 2 holes and pins there. If I turn this round slightly, you can just about make out that those are the mounting tabs there with the holes. So I had to widen the hole slightly, but putting it on after that was dead easy. Just lay it down flat. Then you've got these 2 guards, which are E16 and E15 respectively. Painted those in the black by hand. Those mount into those little boxes. If you remember, one was like silver with the red, and then silver with the blue. And there was a hole right in the middle of the 2 like strappings. And that's the only mounting hole there was. So those are in now. So the mounting holes are about here somewhere, and those just rest on top of the suspension arms and that. There's nothing to mount them onto apart from those two holes there. So that's E16 and E15 respectively. Once those are done, then I've got the mud guards. You've got the front mud guards, which are E24 and E23 respectively. And then you've got this assembly here. You've got the two mud guards, which are E4 and E3. And then you've got these two guards at the back, which are C4 and C6. So there's C4 and there's C6. You can see the shape of the mountings on the side. So those just slipped in. Just ran a bit of glue, just let those dry. Now with the E4 and the E6, sorry, E4 and E4 and E3, there's not really much to rest it on. You'd have to rest them on the back wall. And I just super glued those on to the back wall of C6 and C4, and that was pretty much that. On the guards here, which are E24 and E23, again there was like a little couple of notches on the back of the mud guards, which didn't really lock into place. That I just had to push them in the gap between the side skirts and the main body. And again, I had to use super glue to get those in. What bugs me about these guards though, even though they've got to go on, I've got no problem with that. It covers all that detail up, you know, the suspension rods and the brakes and all that. It covers all that up. It's a shame, but it's just one of those things. So that's the underneath finally finished. Right, I've turned the Lancer on its wheels now because I've done the rest of the underneath chassis construction in the previous update. I've done a bit of construction on the bodywork. So I'll start with this little cap here. That's turning the plans round. That little cap is B1. I don't know what that's for. That's in the white. So I'll widen the hole slightly and just drop that into place with a bit of glue in the hole. Then you've got A9, which is the roof scoop. Now I spray painted down the white on the sprue, then the TS49 red after. Then you've got 3 holes, one at the back and 2 at the front. I had to widen those slightly. So you've got 1 there and the 2 there. And then I just put some glue in the holes and just glued that into place. I didn't glue around the side or anything. Then you've got the door mirrors. So you've got, what was it, A4 on this side with a B24 silver part, which represents the mirror itself. So I just painted down the silver, popped it into A4, spray painted the A4 in the TS49, and then that mounts into the little gap that's on the front corner there, which you've got to paint the bottom black to bend in with that bottom paint, the ones I'd already painted, and those glue onto the side window. In trouble being, I had to lop off a bit of the corner edge there and a bit of the corner edge underneath there because it wouldn't go in. Once I'd lopped them off, I just glued that in with the gluing glaze. Same for the other side, which is the other wing mirror, which is A3 and B23. Just did the same for that with the edge. I had to lop that off and just glue that into place with the gluing glaze. These bumper caps here on the front bumper, those are A19 and A18. Again, sprayed them with the TS49 red on top of the white. Just ran a bit of glue on the mounting channels and just pushed those into place. You've also got this little Mitsubishi logo here, which I believe is B2 or C2. I can't remember which sprue it was on. And just ran a bit of super glue on the mesh grill. Got my cocktail stick with a tiny bit of blue tack and pushed that onto place and let that dry. So that's that mounted. And then mainly now is just the headlamps I've got to do, and the rear lamps will go on there. Those are for the front. Those are D6 and D7, which are those. I've painted on the X26 orange on the inside. Took about 3 coats. Turning the page back over again, then you've got D3 and D4, which are the rear lamps, and those are those. And it's just the X20, what was that code? X27 red there, and then the X26 orange there, and you leave the gap just clear. So I've just got to mount these lamps on now.